Replacement of the Gerritsen Beach Bridge on the Belt Parkway, Brooklyn, New York, with your host, Crazy New York Driver. Hey guys, how's it going? Today is April 28th, 2013, and I have another little adventure for you guys. Today, we're going to explore the Gerritsen Beach Bridge on the Belt Parkway, which is going to be replaced. In fact, the work has already started. These pictures you're looking at were actually taken a few weeks ago by me on April 7th, and I just never got around to putting this video together, but I'm doing it today because it's got to be done. I'd like to explore not just the bridge itself, but underneath the bridge. I would bet good money that not a single person watching this video has ever been underneath the bridge itself. Well guys, I've been under many times since I was a kid, and today I'm going to take you guys under, and you're going to see just how deteriorated it is, and you're going to get a good look at some really neat graffiti and some other things. You may remember a few weeks ago I did it on the Mill Basin drawbridge, which is the next bridge up. This is the Gerritsen Bridge, and this bridge is actually already started to be replaced. I got there literally on the last day of its existence. So, let's take a quick look at it, and let me give you a little background, if I may. Situated within the Gerritsen Beach community, the Gerritsen Inlet Bridge was built around 1940. It is a 9-span structure over Gerritsen Inlet with a clearance of 35 feet above mean high water. Because the Gerritsen Inlet Bridge is located within the Gateway National Park Recreation Area, NYC DOT is working with the National Park Service, the Coast Guard, and the DEP, and all the parks departments to ensure that proper construction methods comply with environmental laws. The new bridge will consist of 3 spans over Gerritsen Inlet. The 35-foot mean high water clearance and the navigable channel width will remain unchanged. As part of the community outreach activities, DOT will be in contract with local boating groups in order to mitigate any impacts to recreational boaters during the construction. The pedestrian and bicycle pathways will be maintained at all times during construction. The completed structure will include uniform design elements such as railings, lighting, and parapets consistent with the historic character of the original Belt Parkway construction. These features will be implemented on each of the 7 bridges in the program, resulting in a unified theme along the corridor. Okay, now guys, we are underneath the bridge now, and you'll see that the graffiti taggers here own the place. I'd like to tell you a little funny story that happened to me a few years ago under here. About 5 years ago, I decided to come underneath exploring, and I came charging down the pathway without looking first, and there had to be 4 or 5 guys under there actively tagging. You can see all the cans there from years and years. So these graffiti guys are tagging the wall. They take one look at me in full uniform with vest and everything, and all 5 guys froze. So they're looking at me, and I'm looking at them, and they're thinking like, okay, he's 1 guy and we're 5. And I can see that their minds are clicking away. So I just continued on my way like, I wasn't even concerned about them at all. And they went right back to their tagging. But I'm telling you, it's a very remote location under there, but it's photographic as hell. I mean, it's just so nice under there. I understand that the city has to replace these bridges because they're getting old, they've outlived their usefulness, and in some cases, they're dangerous. But it should be done, I think, with a little bit more care as far as to be eye-pleasing. I'm just so sick of these new concrete structures. And the one that comes to mind right at the top of my head is that new one they just completed about 3 bridges up on the Belt Parkway. The thing is full of sun glare, and it's the most boring thing you've ever seen. Those of you who've driven on it know exactly the structure I'm talking about. Here you can see, as you probably know, this is a Robert Moses Bridge, as most of them are on the Belt Parkway. Moses actually designed and built most of the New York City parkways. And as I told you earlier, this particular highway bridge was built in the year 1940 or thereabouts. It's older than almost everybody watching this video. And yet it's still in service today. As you can see, this happened to be a rare, somewhat sunny day. But it was a very cold day for the beginning of April, and I was actually wearing a winter coat when I photographed this. Now, climbing down the incline to get underneath can be a little bit of a chore. That's why a lot of people don't go under there. It's a very steep incline and it's very rocky. You cannot go down during the summer because, number one, the foliage is just so thick. And number two, even if you do go under, it's full of ticks. And trust me, I know from experience. Now, this side of the bridge we're going to go under now is in the worst shape of the entire structure. I would like to point out right there, look at the extra posts that have been added to stabilize the bridge. The concrete is rotting away, as you can clearly see, and all the rebar is exposed. There are quite a few chunks of concrete underneath the bridge from it crumbling. Here, the graffiti guys did their best to make it look eye-pleasing, and I gotta tell you, I think it looks pretty cool myself. I walked in and out of here. It took me, I would say conservatively speaking, 2 hours to walk both sides of this bridge, up and down, photograph inside and out. And through the whole ordeal, I passed maybe 3 people underneath. I'm sure you saw them earlier. They're fishermen. I myself would not eat anything that was caught there. But apparently, they are not as careful as I am, and so be it. I saw a lot of neat things like that old manhole cover right there. I often wonder, it looks like it was washed out from the high tide. And let me tell you that Hurricane Sandy did a number on this whole area. I mean, the water surge was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Further down, Plum Beach was totally covered with water. You couldn't even use the Bell Parkway. But here you can see a lot of things that are just throwbacks to the old days. And you know, I'm going to miss this bridge. I really am. It's just so cool and exploring. And you can see in certain places that they actually had fenced it off over the years. There's evil Mickey Mouse looking at you. But there is another room inside this tunnel that has a sealed, locked door on it. You may have spotted it earlier, about 20 frames ago. Well, when I came down here a few years ago, the doorways were actually open. There was no door on them, and it was nothing but dark and scary in there. I don't know what that storage room was used for, but I absolutely refused to go in. I was alone, I had no flashlight, and who knows, man, I might have sunk down into the muck or whatever the hell was in there. Speaking about muck and sinking down, you can sometimes see abandoned cars down here. When I was younger, I remember there was an old Lincoln down here, and it was down for a really long time. And finally, I guess the Army Corps of Engineers came and cleaned it out with a bunch of other vehicles. So you don't see them as often as you used to, because there used to be a pathway. You could actually drive derelict and stolen cars down here, and they would strip them. But over the years, the Parks Department or the city drove in a lot of pylons on the pathways, so you can't really get a car down here anymore. It's a lot more difficult. As you can see, somebody put some makeshift steps in there, but that is actually the pathway to get up to one side of the Bell Parkway. This is another side of the undercarriage of the bridge, as you can see. And again, the graffiti guys did a full-scale job on this as well. I'd also like to point out that these chunks of concrete, see right there, they came loose many years ago, and on the right side, the erosion of the wall is very, very apparent. Also, I spoke about that doorway earlier. The doorway will soon be seen, and you've got to wonder what the intention was. That's a vent right there you're looking at. A vent to what I would call, I guess, a vault, because I can't think of any other word for it. What the heck they ever wanted to store in there beats the heck out of me. I mean, I can imagine back in the 50s what it was like under here, back with the old gangs of the old days. And yes, I assume that there still is some drinking that goes on down here now and then. But again, I am very sad to see this bridge go. I was happy to make this video. And if you guys have any questions about this particular bridge or any bridge in Brooklyn on the Bell Parkway, comment below. I'd like to know what you think, and I'd like to know what your ideas are as far as keeping bridges retro looking, as opposed to these new boring concrete structures that are so prevalent around New York City today. I really despise when they rebuild a bridge because I know it's going to be nothing but boring. And why they always make them out of concrete stymies me. Because if you watch my last video, I told you that the salt water always rots the concrete. I'm not kidding. You watch in a year or two, you'll be driving over a brand new bridge and big chunks of concrete will be popping out already because it rots the rebar and it breaks the concrete and it pushes it right up. They need to put a coating of asphalt on top. They never do that. And to this day, I don't know why. I think the concrete industry really lobbies the city of New York to use concrete in abundance on everything. That's my personal feeling. So once again, I'm Crazy New York Driver and you're not. Thanks for watching another one of my on-location exploration videos. And before I let you go, let me point out that the area I'm at now, you can see my footprints were clearly actually sinking in the sand there. I was a little concerned that I was, actually going to sink a little further than I did. But again, everything worked out. It was a fun video to make. It was a tiring video to make. But I hope you guys liked it. So, I guess that's about going to wrap it up. Comments below if you have any. Remember, the Mill Basin drawbridge that I videoed a few weeks ago is still as it was. It has not yet been rebuilt, but that one is going to be rebuilt, I think, after this one. Okay? So if you use the Bell Parkway, next time you go over the Gerritsen Bridge, think of Crazy NY Driver, because that's me. I've been under it, and you haven't. But today, you have. Thanks for watching.